Bicycle Rider YouTube, and I'd like to talk about the difference between owning a bike shop and hanging out in a bike shop. I know the difference between those two because I spent a lifetime. I'm 56 years old now, and I am a self-proclaimed bike shop rat. I love hanging out in a bike shop, and I have since adolescence. Since I've been a young kid, I've always been amazed by bicycles and bicycle mechanics. When I was young, my dad was a helicopter pilot, and he worked on my bicycle, and I loved to help him and learn about it. And then, as I got older, I was fortunate enough to live in an area that had some really good bicycle shops. Fort Collins, Colorado, in the early 80s. And not only was my junior high school close to a bike shop, but so was my house. It's called Lee's Cyclery. And luckily the owners were really cool, and they liked us kids coming into the shop. One, because we bought things with our spare change. I say spare change. I worked all summer slinging snow cones and mowing grass so I could buy a hut. Even then, it was just a frame fork and a laid back seat post. And then I had to save up for some Z-rims and power cranks. And, still remember that problem. But that all sparked my love for cycling. Having a cool local bike shop to hang out in. And I never stopped. As I went through high school, then we of course became 16. I was lucky that some of my mentors that worked in that bike shop were high school kids with cool Camaros. So bikes and cars went well together. It wasn't one of those situations where once you got a car at 16, you put down your bike. No, it just enabled you to go to more. I was kind of big into the BMX back then. BMX racing stuff. Then we go to Greeley, Colorado for the nationals, or travel with the trick team to go do ramps. I don't know. It was definitely a cool situation in Fort Collins, Colorado. But I think about that now as I've owned a bike shop. In late 2024, I had to sell that bike shop. It broke my heart. My heart's still broken from that. But I really loved being a bike shop owner. But there was times when it was tough, and I had to see the perspective between the bike shop rats, like my friends that come to hang out in the bike shop, saw how hard I was working, saw the struggle, and offered to help. Well, it's hard to see the perspective on both sides of that when you haven't been there. So as I'm doing a somewhat zone 2 workout, breaking the rules and riding a little bit faster than I should, so I figured I'd turn on the camera and talk about just that. The difference between owning a bike shop, understanding the business and insurance behind the bike shop, and being an enthusiast who wholeheartedly wants to help that bike shop through some hard times, or wants to help the owner because he's a friend, and offer free labor. And some of my friends, I think, got offended when I told them that I couldn't take them up on their offer. And then a lot of people on YouTube talk about it, like the bike shop owner, kind of a jerk because he won't let me help him out. But there's something very important in the background called insurance. And the insurance world really rules the retail world, especially when you're borrowing money from the bank. I couldn't just tell my insurance company to bug off. My friend says he wants to help me, and he doesn't want to be on the books because I need insurance to keep the bank loan. It's a wicked circle, and I see their point. There's a lot of accidents that can happen in a bike shop, and some of those seem so simple, but let me tell you an instance right now what happened to me. You know, going through a Christmas season, I'm literally working 16 hours a day. I'm short-handed, and I have some friends say, hey man, we want to help you, Bart. So I said, you know, they want to build bikes. Everybody wants to build bikes. But building bikes is more complicated than people think. Even for that garage mechanic who's been working on bikes for a long time, has his own set of park tools, tuned his own derailleur, put on his own chain. Taking a bike out of a box, a brand new bike from a factory, let's say Cannondale, Trek Specialized, and building that up to put it on the showroom floor seems easy, especially when that's usually the first thing a new mechanic does. And sometimes a new mechanic might be a high school kid or college kid. So when that veteran cyclist in front of yours says, man, I want to build bikes, that sounds great, but let me tell you the inside secret to that. There's a pre-delivery checklist that has to be filled out by a certified mechanic. And I say certified. As a bike shop owner, I can certify a mechanic and deem him a bicycle mechanic. Someone that's working for me has proved themselves that they know how to use the tools and work in the shop safely and is on the books. So they're covered under workman's comp insurance. I can deem them a bicycle mechanic. Now, it's always nice when someone comes in with a certification from either an accredited bicycle school or an online school. That certainly helps my insurance because they understand, even if they don't practice it, when you disconnect a pneumatic tool, to have your earplugs in and your safety goggles on. You know how to not have loose fitting clothes when you're messing with a bicycle chain and a sprocket. All this seems fairly basic until an accident happens. And when that accident happens in a bike shop that you own, that I own, well, guess what? If that employee is on the books and I have workman's comp insurance and also business insurance, and let's say guy gets his finger caught in that sprocket between the chain and has to go get stitches. Believe me, that's happened a lot. I know a lot of bicycle mechanics, veteran bicycle mechanics, that are missing a finger. So if that happens to your employee, well, then you take the right precautions. You call the ambulance and you get a medical report. You file it under your insurance, and if he's out of work for a little bit, workman's comp helps out. It's still expensive for the bike shop, but if your friend cuts his finger, or in my case, he needed stitches pretty bad because he was helping install some floor mats, and he was trying to cut it, and the knife went through his vein of his leg. Well, that was an expensive medical bill that the doctors wanted to charge to the bike shop. And I'm talking about multiple thousands of dollars to cover this medical bill. If you've seen medical bills for stitches or bike surgery, you know what I'm talking about. And my insurance company gets wind of that and says, look, why are your friends helping build bikes? You know, it's, you can't have that. You can't have friends in the work area. A lot of it that just in case something happens and they get hurt. So I ended up working with my friend, giving him several $1,000s to help pay his medical costs, calm down my insurance company, let them know that I wouldn't have people helping out working in the bike shop. So I learned my lesson, but over the years, I had to have that conversation with a lot of my good customers and friends that wanted to just come in and work in the bike shop. And it's cool. Oh, you don't have to pay me. I'll come, you know, sell bikes for you in the showroom. Well, once again, I have a certain culture of sales. Like, all my employees went through sales training. And it's not because they're commission-based, it's because I wanted them to have the right culture of the shop and not sell things that are the wrong size, or not sell things just to make a sale. There's a lot of ways to word that. I wanted trust in my customers. And even though someone has their best interests at heart, if they don't know the culture of your shop, or they don't know all the details of the B2B on Specialized, or Trek, Cannondale, Kona, whatever you're selling, there's a lot of information that's not privy to the general public. So next thing you know, I got a friend selling a guy a mountain bike that's the wrong size. And he's all proud of himself because he's making a bicycle sale for him. But it's not the kind of sale that I wanted. So there's definitely a nuance to every piece of the bicycle shop. Or they're making a sale, but they don't know how to use a point of sale system. So next thing you know, you get someone saying, hey, Bart, I'm selling this pair of gloves to a guy, so just remember, here's the tag, ring it up later. Or, you know, I'm busy with something, next thing you know, I've got to drop what I'm doing, you got to run the cash register, and I might be in the middle of put some bearings in a hub, or you're stroking a wheel, something you don't want to just leave. So there's so many nuances to want to help out in a bike shop, and a bike shop owner turning that help down when he really could use some extra help. But, you know, I've got a lot of friends that are doctors, dentists, and lawyers. I don't go to them when they're pulling a lot of extra hours and saying, man, I know your workload is pretty heavy, doc. Throw me in. I'll take care of that guy's broken skull. I don't think their jobs are easy. And there's a misconception that working in a bicycle shop is easy and unskilled. You wouldn't believe how hard it is just to hire a good mechanic. And I know a lot of garage mechanics that are pretty good, but I've also seen a lot of those guys come in when they get stumped. So there's a difference between a garage mechanic and enthusiast and someone that's doing it professionally in a bike shop. So for one, it kind of belittles the mechanic when people say, oh, can you do this? It should be easy. Can you just tune my derailleur? It should be easy. They don't realize a lot of times it's more than just twisting the barrel adjustment. You could have a bad piece of housing. You could have stiction. If it was so easy, anybody could tune it derailleur. Or replace a spoke. I've had that many times. Then it's just one spoke and you just replace it real quick, not realizing that there's a big workload already in front of them, and that one spoke means the whole wheel has to be in retention, which is an art form. Of course, with the right tools and knowledge, we make it look easy. But it's not just putting in a spoke like you would on the side of the trail. Taking it, making sure it sounds about the right tone as the other spokes. There's so much to it, especially when people are paying good money for that. So back to something simple, well, what people conceive simple, building a new bike out of a box. Should take about 15 minutes. No. Even a skilled mechanic like me who's done thousands of bikes, I take about an hour building a simple bike. From unboxing it, of course pulling out the staples so no one gets cut later. Had that happen. Cutting the cardboard up so it doesn't take up too much room in the dumpster. Going over every nut and bolt to make sure it's torqued correctly. Readjusting bearing tensions. When you're selling a bike from your own shop, don't trust the machines that are putting those things together. I've learned that the hard way. Plus, you've got to look and catalog any warranty issues. So, when I say it takes me an hour, so I go through a very detailed checklist. And all my mechanics did as well. For one, that's cover your ass. Did you torque the crank arms, even though the crank arms already came on there? Did you tighten the wheel skewer? Did you tighten the pedals? I had a friend throw on a pair of pedals for a customer. The customer went out for a test ride and the pedal fell off and the customer fell down in the middle of the street, hurt themselves. They didn't sue me. They could have. But they sure walked away the shop with a disgusted look and said they'd never come back. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. Of course, my friend apologized to me, but it's my career. You know, it's what I worked 20 plus years as an accountant, crunching numbers on a spreadsheet so I can own a bike shop. So, even though my friends felt bad, it's my reputation. So, I don't want this video to go too long. I sure thank my amazing customers and friends. But believe me, when I turned down your free labor, there was much more than my ego at stake. There was business in the background at stake. They could get taken away real quick. Like I said, if you've got workers' comp insurance, different insurances on your business, and you use them quite frequently, well, guess what? Your rates go up. In 2025, believe me, every price increase hurts. So, once again, just be kind to your local bike shop. Don't call them unskilled labor. If you really want to help, maybe have a sit down with the owner and find out how you can do that. Maybe lead an organic fruit drive. Send people to the shop through your own social media. You know, do some things that aren't gonna cause the shop to have liability issues. Heck, I can't even help the street guys that say, hey man, you got a little job you want me to do? Sweep the floor, anything. If you're not on the books in that bike shop, that's a whole other thing. Putting someone on the books costs a lot of money. But if you're not on the books, you're not covered under insurance, and it puts the bike shop at risk for major financial disruption. So, just think about that, guys. I definitely appreciate everybody that wanted to help me, but there's much more to it than just offering free help. You can't go to Toyota and say, hey look, I want to learn how to rebuild an engine. I just want to work in your shop for free for a little bit. There's a pretty big insurance on that. Alright, rambling enough guys, I gotta get to my workout, but that's a little bit of the difference between being a bike shop owner and enthusiast that loves the shop and wants to help out. Apart from Bicycle Ride YouTube, many more stories like this coming up as I'm ramping up my training and riding some roads. Apart from Bicycle Ride YouTube, if you like what I do, please like and subscribe. All my content is real. This has all happened to me, and I love sharing it with you guys. I also appreciate your opinions and your comments, so send them my way. Apart from Bicycle Ride YouTube.